Hello, I'm Ginger Healy. I'm the Parenting Director of the Attachment and Trauma Network. I'm a therapist and mom to 4 kids. The Attachment and Trauma Network is a nonprofit organization that provides support, education, advocacy, and resources to children, families, and schools in an attachment-focused and trauma-informed way. And today I'm bringing you part 2 of Building Resilience in Your Children, where we'll discuss how to view your child's behavior as communication. I'm really excited to teach you some neuroscience today. Don't worry, it's very simple. If I can learn it, anybody can learn it. But we're going to start off talking about a very important paradigm shift that will help you truly see your child in a different light, so that because of this shift, you're just going to be able to respond and help your child differently in a better way. We're going to talk about how to move away from a framework that says, my child won't listen, my child won't do his work, and we're going to move into a paradigm that says, my child can't. Right now, they can't do what I'm asking them to do. They aren't being willfully disobedient. They truly can't do their work right now. So I need to help them get there. And that involves a basic understanding of how the brain develops and works. It's important for us as parents to recognize where our child's brain is firing as expected and where it's not firing as expected. So in order to do this, and in order to explain this more fully, I'm going to teach you how the hand-brain model by Dr. Dan Siegel. You're going to stick your hand and arm up like this. This is your brain stem. And the fatty part of your hand, this is like your cerebellum. And that's the part of the brain that controls things that you don't even think about, like digestion, breathing, heart rate. Those things just happen without you having a conscious thought about making it happen. So when you fold your thumb in the middle, this becomes the midbrain area, and that's where the limbic system is housed. And when you curve your hand over like this is the higher part of your brain, and this is called the cortex. And right here where our fingernails touch up underneath here, it's sort of like the part of our brain that sits right behind our eyes. That's called our prefrontal cortex. We have this. No other animal has this. This is what makes us truly human, and this is where our ability to multitask, think, plan ahead, the area that we're working in order to accomplish school and academics. It's where our memory is. It's where we process language and information. And it's where emotional, physically, cognitively, we can be flexible, adaptable, coherent, energized, stable. Now, you can remember that with an acronym, FACES, F-A-C-E-S, flexible, adaptable, coherent, energized, stable. And I want you to remember that because those are all the things we need in order to do our schoolwork, which is what we're talking about today. So what happens when we get stressed or triggered or feel unsafe? Let's go back to this. Underneath this prefrontal cortex and in the cortex where that limbic system is what's called the amygdala. And that's when, if we are scared, if we're mad, if we're sad, all those big emotions, that's where this comes into play and kicks into gear. And it kicks into gear by sending us into survival mode, which is fight, flight, and freeze. So simply put, it's where if our brain is here, the lid, I'm going to refer to it as the lid is down, then we're happy, we're cozy, we're creative, we can find solutions. But when this lid is flipped and we are here or here, we're in survival mode. We're scared, we're crying, we're upset, or we're shut down, we're paralyzed, we are deer in the headlights. That is a really powerful tool to teach your kids, and you can make it really simple for them. You can teach this to very, very young children. I've seen it done in children as young as 3 years old by stating, when you're mad or sad or scared, you're in the red zone, and this is what it looks like. It can look like this or this. And when you're calm and happy and cozy, this is what it looks like, and you're in the green zone. And you can say, hey, bud, where are you in your brain? How are you feeling right now? And they can say green, right? Or they can say red. I am red right now. Or if they don't say anything at all, they're probably in the red zone. Some kids can say, I'm yellow. I'm starting to go to the red zone. Right now I'm in the yellow zone. And they can just use hand motions. They can go, how you doing today? And they can go like this, or they can go like this, or they can go like this. So there's different ways they can communicate that doesn't require a lot of thinking. It's a very quick communication between the two of you. You yourself, when you see they're starting to lose it, you can say, maybe you're in the yellow zone, or it looks like you're going into the red zone. You can say, I think we need to take a break, or let's walk away, let's stop right now. Rather than like I used to say, what's wrong with you? Stop it. Now I use those phrases like, okay, let's take a break right now because I can see that you're in the red. And I used to make things worse when I would say, stop it. What's wrong with you? That just didn't work. So the hand-brain model is a great form of common communication that empowers children to be aware of that part of the brain that takes over when they're upset. It's a really important part that's accessible for them to know about when they're calm. It teaches them to talk about where their brain is and how they're feeling in the moment. It's a really important first step to getting regulated and back in control. So with practice, this helps them grow more neurological loops that are intended to strengthen that executive functioning, self-control. And the other really great thing about learning this and learning this little bit of neuroscience, hopefully, is that light bulb went off in your head and you realized that in moments of red zone, your child they can't do math. Remember, we're discussing can't versus won't. They can't access that prefrontal cortex when they're, in fight, flight, freeze mode. They can't do math when they're in that mode. It's a biological fact that's true for all humans, not just children who have experienced trauma. So if you've noticed that your child seems paralyzed lately, won't do their schoolwork, can't do their schoolwork, irritated, yelling, disobedient, having nightmares, remember all those behaviors that I talked to you about in that first webinar? Yeah, those behaviors, those are fight, flight, freeze behaviors. So now you know that because of this pandemic, or also maybe something else going on in their life, they are not themselves. They are not in control. They can't do what we're asking them to do. So we've got to shift our expectations. They're not coping. When we ask them to do all this schoolwork, it's just not going well. Or is it just my house where things aren't going well? No, I think we're all struggling. And now you know why. And now you can communicate to them that, hey, bud, it's okay. Our brains are struggling to get into that prefrontal cortex. That's what helps you do schoolwork. And some days we're not there. Some moments we're not there. And so together, you as the caretaker and alongside your child, you're going to help them shift out of this into this. And you're going to use words in a very calm voice. It's all about the tone, volume, and cadence of your voice. You're going to take deep breaths when they're like this. You're going to take deep breaths to get them back in. You're going to model that and mirror that for them so that they can then also deep breathe. You're going to get them a glass of water. You're going to make sure they're fed. I want you to give them protein snacks. And you're just going to kind of back off and regulate them and make them feel very safe. And eventually, once they're calm, and once you are calm, and once they're like this, then you can say, okay, let's go back to the schoolwork and work on that just a little bit. And once you start to see you're working on the schoolwork and you can see that they're starting to shut down again, they're starting to get irritated, the lid's starting to flip again, then you're going to do what we just did. Start all over again. Shower, shampoo, rinse, repeat over and over again. This is the cycle that we go through, this regulation and co-regulation, the safety the connection. So you're just going to repeat that, but it all starts really with that big shift in expectations, that big paradigm shift of can't versus won't. And once you do that and you understand that they are not manipulating you, they aren't being bad, they aren't being willfully disobedient, they just truly can't. Their survival instincts won't let them slow down and think and comply with your expectations. And once we understand that, we see them in a different light. We call it respond instead of react. I just want you to connect with your children when they're in those fight, flight, freeze modes rather than escalating it. Our kids are most likely, more likely to able to come out of that when we soothe and regulate them rather than punishing them for those negative behaviors that come out. And we can't scare them into compliance either. So, no yelling. No one in the history of history has ever calmed down by being yelled at. Calm down. It just doesn't work. So we calm ourselves first and then we calm our kids down. And there's lots of ways to do this. And that's what we're going to get into in our next webinar. I've touched on a few here. I talked about the deep breathing and the water and the protein and the mirroring, that regulation, but we're going to get even more into it. I'm going to give you lots of tools for your toolbox, and I can't wait to give you all of that information. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening.